If you work in university maintenance, Granger considers you an MVP because your playbook ensures your arena is always ready for tip-off. And Granger is your trusted partner, offering the products you need all in one place, from HVAC and plumbing supplies to lighting and more. And all delivered with plenty of time left on the clock, so your team always gets the win. Call 1-800-GRANGER, visit Granger.com, or just stop by. Granger, for the ones who get it done.
Quick quiz. What injury law firm has been helping people in the District, Maryland, and Virginia for over 35 years? That's right. It's Greenberg and Betterman. Auto accident? Medical malpractice? Get a free consultation by visiting gblawyers.com and feel better.
Welcome back. Thank you for checking out this bonus edition of the 12 Kyle podcast. I'm 12 Kyle. Check this out. What I wanted to do is get on here and just give you a brief recap of my Thanksgiving holiday, right? Much like many of you, Thanksgiving is a time where people get together and celebrate, and for whatever reason, if you feel like celebrating, some people don't celebrate Thanksgiving. Personally, for me, it is my favorite holiday. Always has been. As a kid who grew up in South Carolina, I would always love Thanksgiving because more often than not, during Thanksgiving, we would leave South Carolina and we would go to New Jersey to visit our family. So that was always really dope. Get in a car, driving 10, 11 hours, which to me right now is funny because there's no way in hell I drive 10 hours anywhere. I had to get on a plane. So this year was, every year Thanksgiving I think is really special, but this year we decided to do something different as a family, my wife and our 4 kids, with our 2 oldest sons being in college. Instead of having the traditional, Thanksgiving dinner at our house and having our in-laws over, we decided to do something different, and it was something that I want to say my wife planned earlier this summer. She proposed the idea of us going to Disneyland for Thanksgiving. Disneyland is in LA, and I'm currently living in Atlanta, so we'd have to get on a plane and deal with the Thanksgiving traffic, if you will, and go to LA. Initially, I wasn't really thrilled about it. I was like, why would you go to, LA for Thanksgiving? But, the more and more I thought about it, and if you've been following the podcast, you know that this past December, when my birthday came around, I went to LA, visit my homeboy Jay Fresh, and just kicked it out there for a week. So after the initial thought about it, I was like, you know what? That'd be cool. That'd be different. And it was also going to be special because my wife's originally from LA. So Compton specifically. So it would be cool for our kids to experience LA for the first time. And then, also give them a chance to kind of see where their mom grew up at, her old neighborhood, things of that nature. So, came up with the idea, and she came up with the idea, and I was like, okay, let's roll. So got the tickets. The plan was to go to Disneyland. And then, after that was just really the main plan, just to go to Disneyland. And then after that, we kind of make a schedule around that. So we ended up, leaving on the Tuesday before Thanksgiving and flying out of Atlanta. Funny thing, we get to the airport. Now I'll be honest with you guys. Like, I am a stickler for time. So I like to get to the airport early. I know that kind of makes the trip longer, but I just get paranoid. I never wanted to miss a flight, and I've never missed a flight. And so if you know me personally, you know that about 11 years ago, I actually used to travel a lot for my job. My job was in Minneapolis, and I lived in Atlanta, and I would fly back and forth between Minneapolis and Atlanta every week I would fly and be in Minneapolis for the week and fly home on the weekends to Atlanta. And so, I got used to flying a lot. And I did that for a year. And Minneapolis is a beautiful city. I would recommend anyone going there when it's warm because I've never been so cold in my life. But it's a beautiful city. Even when it's cold, it's still a beautiful place. Real cool people, man. I enjoyed my time in Minneapolis and the Twin Cities. But nonetheless, so I just have this thing about getting to the airport. So we got to the airport and, I was like, okay, so we got there. We're going through security, TSA, no problem. We got the clear. We're getting through. And our oldest son, Dion, who is 22, he decides he goes through TSA and he does not have like his travel size lotion. He has like a big bottle of lotion and a big, like from some face moisturizer, like the regular size. And you have, obviously, with TSA, you can't bring that on the plane. So, you have to either throw it away or condense it into a smaller container. Well, he just said, well, hey, I'll just keep it. And, so that what happened was after he went through TSA, they scanned his bags and everything. And so they said, hey, you got to go back through the line again. And we're like, wait a minute. Say what? Like, okay, this dude has to go all the way back through the line. Everybody, the whole family had already gone through TSA. We were headed to the gate. And so he had to go back. So that was another 20 minutes. So we're on time. So we got there early. So it wasn't like it was a big deal, but I had a plan for us to, get to the airport, sit down at a restaurant, eat breakfast, the whole nine, just kind of just relax. Cause I know, the elephant in the room, traveling, particularly on a holiday like Thanksgiving, can be very stressful. And especially in a pandemic, because, obviously everybody's trying to be as safe or at least we're trying to be as safe as we can possibly be. We got Skylar, our youngest daughter, she had to get a COVID test. She had just gotten her COVID vaccine shot, but she had to get a COVID test. And, our boys are vaccinated, and my wife and I, we got our booster shots a couple of weeks ago. So, you just wanted to make sure that you can do everything possibly that you can. But you have to have your mask on at all times, the whole nine. So anyway, he gets jammed up by TSA. And so he finally gets through or whatever. So we get to the gate, we get on the plane. And keep in mind, for our youngest two children, Brandon, who is 14, almost 15, and Skylar, our daughter, who is 10 at the time of this recording, this is their first flight. So, they're excited. I think they're a little nervous, but they're excited. And so we're all sitting together. We get on the plane and we fly from Atlanta to, what's it called? Orange County. We didn't fly into LAX. We flew into, I guess it's John Wayne Airport. Anyway, so the flight was smooth. I just messed around on the internet and chatting with my friends and stuff like that. I really couldn't. It's hard for me to sleep on planes, so I wasn't going to sleep. So we get there. That's a Tuesday, and we, land, get the rental car, and a nice little minivan. Picture me driving a minivan. But it was a nice little minivan and everything, and it was kind of stylish and stuff. So I was feeling it. And so, we check into the hotel. The hotel's really nice. We stayed in I want to get the actual name, Garden Grove, which is right outside of Anaheim, where Disneyland is in Anaheim, but Garden Grove, that's where we stayed. Really nice hotel. And so everything's set. We had dinner and just kind of chilled and laid around. Obviously, one of the biggest things is when you come from the East Coast going west, is the time difference. So I didn't really experience jet lag per se, but it took a minute to you just have to constantly remind yourself like everything is behind. So like if you're used to watching the news at 6 o'clock, well, it's 3 o'clock. So the news ain't on yet. And so you realize like some shows and some things that you watch on TV, they're going to fall in that particular time zone and they're going to fall in that particular time slot in their particular time zone. So, None of that changes. So we just kind of chilled, explored the hotel and everything. And I think the night ended, me and my wife, we went down to the bar, had a couple of drinks, and just enjoying the moment of just being away. I love being on vacation, because when I'm on vacation, I don't have to think about anything. I don't have to do anything. I don't have to, everything is just chill. And like that was one of the things that really dope about, when I came out to LA last December for my birthday, was I was in vacation mode. I didn't have to do anything. I didn't have any agenda. The only thing I had to do is get up and go wherever I wanted to go. So that was dope. So the plan was Tuesday chill, Wednesday, boom, we hit Disneyland. So we went to Disneyland. We got up the next morning, and naturally you're gonna get up on East Coast time. So I mean, like, I was up at I don't know, 5 o'clock their time, which would have been 8 o'clock our time. And it's still dark outside, but you kind of see the sun peeking over the mountains, which is, and that was another thing too. I mean, I let me let you know a little secret. I love palm trees. I had the homie Baylor on a couple of episodes ago, and we talked about, it was called California Love. Check that podcast out if you haven't already. But I forgot to mention, like, my love for palm trees. I just love the way palm trees look. I would grow 7 palm trees here in Atlanta if I could, but our weather really isn't conducive to palm trees, because we do have a winter. It doesn't get that cold, but it gets cold enough. And I don't think I could grow it the way that it would need to look. But I love the look of palm trees. And of course, palm trees are everywhere in LA and Metro LA. So we went to Disneyland. Disneyland was, we got there that morning. We ate breakfast. We got there that morning. Disneyland was really, really dope. It's not as big as Disney World, but I'll be honest, we didn't see all of Disneyland. I mean, because the reality is that you probably can't see it all in one day. But we got on rides and we had a good time. And the highlight of the day was getting on Space Mountain, which is an indoor roller coaster. And if you know me, I ain't a fan of roller coasters, right? I don't do roller coasters. I don't do, these type of things that make you sick or make you feel funny or make you feel weird. But I got on, we did it as a family, and I happened to ride with our middle son, Cameron, who's 19 at the time of this recording. And to hear him yell was the funniest thing ever. Just hearing him, I couldn't stop laughing at him yelling. I wasn't even bothered by the twists and the turns and the drops and everything from the roller coaster, just because of him, all the noise he was making. But Disney World was dope, man. We got on a lot of rides. We took a ton of pictures. We normally, what I wanted to do is, and I, published some on my IG and on my Facebook page, but, I think I took like over 100 pictures. But what I wanted to do was I wanted to capture that, because, like, these are moments that you don't get to necessarily have all the time. And the thing that I've realized is that, just like how it was with me and my younger brother, as we got older, what happens is, when you get older, things start to change. I remember where, like I said at the beginning of the podcast, where when we were younger, we always came home. I mean, we were at home, I should say. We were at home, and Thanksgiving we'd go to New Jersey. And then when we got to college, things kind of changed. I remember a couple of times, my mom and my aunts and the rest of the family went to New Jersey, and me and my cousin was like, nah, we ain't going. Because it was just like, it was too much to come home from college, turn around, go to New Jersey, and then come back, to South Carolina, then go back to college at South Carolina State University. It was just too much. Now, we did stay at home, and, we may or may not have thrown a party at the crib. But yeah, so it was better for us to stay at the crib than it was to jump in the car and drive, being in a car for that 11-hour drive to New Jersey. But Disney World was really, really dope. Again, we took, hundreds of pictures. We left at about 5, I guess, and then we went back to the hotel, chilled. We ate at Disney World. We ate lunch, late lunch, early dinner at Disney World, which was expensive. I mean, for some burgers and fries, bro, you're gonna spend a grip. But it's honestly just what I planned for. I mean, it's not that big of a deal. And then we went back to the hotel, chill for a little while, for a couple of hours, and then the plan was to come back around 7 or 8 to be in place for the fireworks. Well, we get back there, and it's the fireworks are supposed to go off at 9, and they're kind of roping these areas off or whatever like that. So people are sitting down, everybody's chilling, waiting on the fireworks, waiting on the fireworks show. But that day, it was probably about 75 degrees, right? So the weather was perfect. I mean, I had a lightweight jacket, but I took the jacket off. I wasn't even wearing it. We were all short sleeve shirts and everything. So it was great weather. Great. The weather was beautiful the whole time that I was out there. And, the weather and the palm trees will make you want to move to LA. I would be lying if at some point the idea did not cross my mind, like, yo, I could live out here. But the reality is the cost of living is like crazy. Like I'd have to like sell a kid or something like that. So, yeah, for right now, I'll just be a visitor. But anyway, so we go back and we take more pictures, but now it's chilly and the wind is blowing, and wind is really, really blowing. And something told me, and I was like, I think I told Dion, our oldest, I said, they're probably not going to do these fireworks. He was like, why? I was like, because the wind is like crazy. And obviously, in California, it is extremely dry. So my interpretation is that with it being as dry as it is, they don't want to have any forest fires or whatever the case may be. So you probably want to chill on the fireworks. So about 15 minutes before the fireworks supposed to happen, they started moving the ropes and stuff like that, and people were still sitting down. And I told my family, I was like, look, if they're moving the ropes and it's no longer roped off, I was like, fireworks aren't going to happen. I was like, let's bounce. So we went and got on some more rides. And keep in mind, it's 9:00, but it's 9:00 out there. But to me and my body, it's 12:00. So we stayed at the park, man, probably, I don't know, until like 11:30. So that's, 2:30 my time, almost 3:00. We got back to the room about midnight. So it was almost 3:00, right? So, naturally you're going to be tired, but I really wasn't that tired. But we had a ball at Disneyland. And then so the next day was Thanksgiving Day, Thursday. So I'd made plans to one of my teammates. Shout out to CC, my boy Cornell. He's from LA, one of my teammates from South Carolina State. Good dude, man. It was great seeing it. We made plans to meet for breakfast. So he lives in LA. He came up to Garden Grove, and we had breakfast at IHOP, man. It was just good talking to him and kicking it with him and just laughing with him, talking about old times, us playing. He's older than me, but he was one of the OGs for us when we came in as freshmen at South Carolina State. So, and he's always been a good dude, always looked out. So it was good seeing him. And then after I left breakfast from there, I came back to the room. Family was there, and they had already had breakfast. And we just kind of just laid around and, played on our phones. And, I think I took a nap at some point. And the plan was, do a little sightseeing before we headed to family friend's house. The friend is one of my wife's childhood friends growing up who still lives in LA, named Denithia. Denithia's family were having Thanksgiving and they invited us. So they're perfect. I haven't seen, we're Facebook friends and stuff like that, but I hadn't seen them in years, like 20 years. Right. So we rode around. As far as the sightseeing was, we went to my wife's hometown, where she grew up in Compton, and we showed the kids like where she went to high school at Dominguez High. and some of her middle schools and elementary schools, and went by her old house in her old neighborhood. And I'm sure she didn't get emotional or anything, but I'm sure that was something uh, that meant a lot to her, because here's the thing: with me being from South Carolina and we live in Atlanta, it's only a 4-hour drive to my hometown. So my kids they know exactly where I live. They've seen my old high school 1,000 times, and you know they've been to my old neighborhoods. And my mother still lives in the house where I grew up at. Um, and my aunt still lives in the house where I've spent my high school and college years at. So, you know, Florence that's very familiar for them, but I think it was very important for them to see their mother's roots, because that stuff is important. And so that was cool. That was really, really cool. Before we went to Compton. Well, we went to Compton, rode through Compton, went over to Inglewood, took pictures at Randy's Donuts. And then we went to Denithia's aunt's house for dinner. And dinner was great. I was bugging out because there was a dude named Freeway that came through and he spoke. I didn't know again, you got people coming in and out of the house. I don't know these people, but Freeway spoke, and Freeway is an older guy, and Freeway had like 3 teeth, but he seemed real cool, and he had a jerk girl, but he seemed real cool. And it was obviously good seeing Denithia and her mom and her aunt, and I mean everybody, all the family and stuff like that. It was just really good. But one of the funniest things that happened at Thanksgiving dinner was they said, "Hey Kyle, do you want to watch the game?" I said, "Sure," because hey, it's Thanksgiving Day, it's football games on. The Detroit Lions are on, unfortunately. The Dallas Cowboys are on, unfortunately, and so they turned the game on. And I think when they turned the game on, I think it was a game between the Cowboys and the Raiders, right? So the game comes on, and they're talking, and I'm like, but I can't really understand what it is that they're saying. And lo and behold, the broadcast of the Cowboys and Raiders game is in Spanish. Now, nobody in this house that I'm sitting there speaks Spanish, but they couldn't figure out how to turn the Spanish off. So it was Spanish. So it was Dak Prescott and Dallas Cowboys. And I'm someone who knows, I understand Spanish, but like you would have to really speak very slow for me to understand what you're saying. I'm not fluent in Spanish at all, right? But I just thought that was hilarious. So they were like, "Kyle, we can't." So they tried to change the SAP on the TV and all of this stuff, and it couldn't change. And they was like, "We're sorry." I was like, "Hey man, I can see the game, so I don't necessarily need to hear what they're saying. I'm okay. I'll listen, because I think it is kind of cool that they're speaking in Spanish." I was like, "But I'm good." And so I sat there and watched that entire game while we were waiting on the food in Spanish. The whole game. But what was weird was the commercials weren't in Spanish. The commercials were in English, but the game was in Spanish. I don't know how that happened, but hey. But yeah, that was cool. Again, just seeing them and spending time with them. That was really, really dope. Then we left, came back to the hotel. Next day was Friday. Friday was really, really dope, man. Because I had plans to meet for brunch at Roscoe's Chicken and Waffle in Long Beach. Had to meet up with my boy Jay Fresh. Now, if you guys have been following the podcast, you know that me and Jay Fresh, that's my boy. We've been friends since we were 6 years old. Jay Fresh is the cat who actually moved here with me to Atlanta in 1997. And we lived together for a year. This is my dude. We talk every day. We talk or text. And, I hadn't seen him since I came out there last year. So it was going to be great to see him. We grew up together in Florence. He lived around the corner from me. We went to high school together and, like I said, it's been my dude since we were like 6 or 7 years old. And it was gonna be dope too because he had not, other than the pictures, he hadn't seen my kids since like in like 10 years since the last time he came to Atlanta. And I think when he was here, Skylar might have been a baby, like she wasn't even walking yet. So I was explaining to her, and because Dion and Cameron know Jason. I call him Jay Fresh, but Jason. They know him, but Skylar and Brandon didn't know him like that. So they just heard all the stories that I talk about him and stuff like that. They've heard me talk to him on the phone. And so me and Fresh, we had planned to meet up, for brunch at Roscoe's. So, because he lives in Long Beach, so he came through. He actually lived just a couple of blocks away, so he walked over. So it was good seeing him, man. We came in, dapped up, hugged up, and sat there for brunch, man. Ate, and drank, and just had a great time, man. It was good, just I mean, it's my boy. We talk every day, but it was good seeing him and just seeing him in person and everything, and that is always love right there. So that was dope. So then when we left there, we were literally like 3 blocks from the beach. So we drove over to the beach and got out the car, and they walked on the beach, and it was real cool. Took a lot of pictures and stuff, and the weather was perfect. It was like 81, 82 maybe. And then so the kids wanted to go to Hollywood to go to the Hollywood Walk of Fame. So I was like, all right, so we're gonna do the tourist shit now. So so we went to Hollywood, parked up, took some pictures in front of the Hollywood sign from a distance, obviously. Then walked up and down the streets, taking pictures of Hollywood Walk of Fame. And as you can see from the cover art, there is a 12 Kyle star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. Don't laugh. And so that was dope. So we did that. And again, the weather was perfect. Took a lot of pictures and just, I think one of the things that I loved about this trip, amongst a whole bunch of other things, but just, talking to my kids and being around my kids. And I think, having 2 in college, the family dynamic changes obviously when they're not here, but just having them back and being around them as they're becoming younger men. And, it's very interesting, and it's very exhilarating as a father to seeing how they interact with each other. It's no longer I'm the big brother and I'm gonna mess with you or anything like that. But they all look out for each other and they love each other, and that's what you want as parents. And as my father always told me and my brother, as you get older, the older you get, the less and less our relationship goes from being, like father son to more like brothers, more like close friends. And that's true, and I'm starting to see that develop between me and my sons as well. So I just really enjoyed that part of the trip. So we went to Hollywood. So I was like, okay. So after that, I was like, okay, we need to push to the city because we had planned to go to dinner at LA Live. So we found a spot in LA Live, down right around the corner from Staples Center. We ate dinner. Dinner was dope. And then the plan was to leave there and go to the Lakers game, because I had tickets to the Lakers game for the 6 of us. But before we got to the Lakers game, I was texting the homie, Baylor, BTG Baylor the Great. You heard him on this podcast. Baylor also is from LA. In fact, he's the mayor of LA. I mean, let me just be honest with you. The man he's literally the mayor. But we had not met. We had, talked and obviously done podcasts and texts and stuff like that. But he was at work and he texted me. I didn't know if I'd be able to catch up with him because Baylor was in the process of moving. And at the time of this recording, he and his wife and kids have moved into their new home. Congrats. But yeah, he left work, man, and he came down, to LA Live just to kick it with me, just for, we just stood out there, man, and chopped it up for about 10, 15 minutes, man. And it was just good seeing him and meeting him in person and everything. And that's stand-up dude, man. One of the real ones. I'll tell you that. And so it was good seeing him and meeting him. And I'm definitely already looking forward to my next trip to LA, because my next trip to LA, me and Baylor gonna hang. So I'm looking forward to that already. So yeah, Baylor came through, and then we walked over to the Staples Center, and it was time to go into the Lakers game. Now, before we could go into the Lakers game, we had to, obviously, because their restrictions are very strict. So you had to present your vaccination cards. We all had our vaccination cards, with the exception of Skylar, who had a negative COVID test. So we showed that, and so, well, Skylar had one shot. You have to be fully vaccinated or show proof that you've been fully vaccinated to attend a sporting event in the state of California with, I guess, a crowd of more than 1,000 people. So anyway, so we get to the door, and my wife realizes that she left her ID at the hotel. And so, for whatever reason, you have to have your ID too. And I'm like, to me, that doesn't really make a lot of sense. I mean, if you got your vaccination card, I mean, do you really need ID to get into a game? But Miss Jerry, remember Miss Jerry from Martin? Well, Miss Jerry from Martin was working the door, and Miss Jerry was just a little peeved at the people who were in front of us because they were tripping or whatever like that. So she was just like, "Well, you don't have your ID. I can't let you in." And I'm like, please, 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 please. I'm thinking to myself, man, please, let's just be nice to this lady out there, because there's no way I could have come out there and not gone into that game. And my wife, she wasn't probably thinking about it, like, she just didn't have her driver's license, so I mean, she had credit cards and all that other stuff. So I mean, you could if you wanted to verify someone's identity. But Miss Jerry was like, "Well, we're really not supposed to let you in, but I'm gonna let you in. I'm gonna let you in. I'm gonna let you in." So thank you, Miss Jerry, if you're listening. And so we get in the game, and the highlight of the night for me was seeing Deion's face when we got to our seats. And the reason being is because Deion is a huge, huge, huge Lakers fan. He's a huge fan of Kobe Bean Bryant. And, initially our thoughts were just to, come to LA or whatever for Thanksgiving, go to Disneyland or whatever. But, as we were getting closer to the plan, as in the planning stages of the trip, my wife said, well, she said, check and see if the Lakers, she said, you think the Lakers are in town? I was like, no, the Lakers ain't in town. And I just said that, not thinking that, that the Lakers would be playing anybody over the Thanksgiving holiday. And again, this is the day after Thanksgiving. So, happened to check the schedule, and lo and behold, they were playing the Sacramento Kings. So it was like, okay, cool. So we got tickets. And so we got really, really, really nice seats. And, the look on his face was just priceless. When we got to the seats, he was just like so geeked up. He took 1,000 pictures, and I couldn't have been happier. No matter how much the seats cost or how much anything costs. I mean, you want to be able to put, as a father and as a provider, you want to put a smile on your children's face and know that they appreciate you and what you're doing for them. And that right there was worth whatever was spent on the tickets or whatever was spent on the trip or whatever the case may be. Just seeing the look on his face, that was priceless. Then there was the game. The game was actually a really, really good game. The game went into triple overtime. The Lakers lost to the Kings, but LeBron James did his thing, and I mean, triple overtime. When I was sitting there going through it, I was like, I don't think I ever seen a triple overtime game in the NBA. And of course, like after halftime, Skylar was done. She just she leaned over. She's like, "Daddy, I'm sleepy," and rightfully so. I mean, at that particular time, it was probably 9:00 out there, so it was midnight in her body, so she's tired. So she just put her head down and fell asleep. But by the time the game got to overtime, she woke up, and but it was a really great game, and so we stayed there, and the game didn't end until it was 11. No, I'm sorry, 1 1:45 Eastern time. So it was a pretty long game. So by the time we got back to the hotel, and I wasn't sleepy or anything like that getting to the hotel, but by the time we got to the hotel, I just crashed. I was done. But the cool part about it was that although we were leaving Saturday, we did not have a early flight. We had I think our flight was supposed to leave at 1 or something like that. Yeah, 12:30, 1 o'clock, something like that. So, we didn't have to get up or anything early. So we got up, we stayed in bed for a long time Saturday morning. And then finally got up, got our stuff, got packed, got to the airport, turned in the rental car, and we had lunch in the airport at CPK, California Pizza Kitchen, one of my favorite joints to eat. And that was dope, man. And then flew back to Atlanta. The flight was smooth and got back here probably about 8 o'clock that night, that Saturday night. And it was dope. It was a great trip. And, it was a lot of fun. Like I said, the weather was perfect. The palm trees were perfect. And it gave me some thoughts about moving out west. But honestly, with our parents here and my wife's parents, they live about 5 minutes from us, and my parents live in South Carolina about 4 hours away. I'm not going anywhere. But who knows? Maybe I don't know. Stranger things could happen. You never know. But for right now, visiting would just be fine for me. And I've already started planning the next trip. The next trip, it'll just be the two of us, and we will leave these children behind. Please believe it. So, my man Jay Fresh know I'm coming back. Baylor know I'm coming back, and we're gonna kick it, and we're gonna hang out like wet clothes. Hopefully, the pandemic will be lessened this spring or next summer, but that's what I'm looking at. But yeah, man, great holiday, great time. Something a little different. The thing I would tell you guys is don't be afraid to do something different for your holidays, because you never know. You just might have a ball. And that's going to do it for me. Thank you for checking out this bonus edition of the 12 Kyle podcast. I'm your boy 12 Kyle. I'll catch you guys next time. 5,000.
When you manage procurement for multiple facilities, every order matters. But when it's for a hospital system, they matter even more. Grainger gets it and knows there's no time for managing multiple suppliers and no room for shipping delays. That's why Grainger offers millions of products in fast, dependable delivery, so you can keep your facility stocked, safe, and running smoothly. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
If you work in university maintenance, Grainger considers you an MVP because your playbook ensures your arena is always ready for tip-off. And Grainger is your trusted partner, offering the products you need all in one place, from HVAC and plumbing supplies to lighting and more, and all delivered with plenty of time left on the clock, so your team always gets the win. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, visit Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.